I would like to introduce you to the panel. That's usually how I start these podcasts, is getting a little bit of a backstory. So, Ola, we're going to begin with you. 16 years at Acne Studios.
Yeah, now the founder of Lola Digital Solutions.
Correct.
I forgot that's actually on my LinkedIn. That's actually my dog's name, Lola.
Okay. Tell us more about
and
Lola.
The AB is actually called Lola Digital Group, and I realized it sounds maybe a little bit too big than it's actually is.
No, it's all about the outside presence. Tell us a little bit more about it and what you're up to these days.
I'm coming, like you said, like a little bit more background. I used to work at Acne for some 16 years. So came in there back in 08, 09, just 4 of us doing pretty much everything. I was doing photography, retouching, production, post-production, web mastering stuff, customer service, you sort of name it. And then I'm sort of worked my way up there until did 6-7 years as ecom director there, and sort of now I felt like I needed to do something new after 16 years, so quit Acne in December. So now I'm freelancing, working with mid-size, mostly Swedish brands. So sort of it's interesting that I'm almost back at where I was some 16 years ago with smaller teams, like 2-3 teams with people doing everything with the help of AI, of course. So but it's been a really interesting ride and very good for me to sort of get back into sort of the operational part of parts of things.
We're going to get onto that in a little bit more detail. Erik, you spent 20 years at Sneakers and Stuff, I believe. It's quite a long time.
It is, yeah.
Tell us more about the switch, and I'm very curious as to what a CTO at a company like Stella does day to day.
Yeah, that's a good question, but I think me and Ola has pretty similar background. Started it, some 20 years ago at Sneakers and Stuff. Done pretty much the same thing as he describes, like webmastering stuff, customer service, digital photography, everything. So eventually the last 10 years of that experience was more towards the technical side and IT parts. Eventually I felt like I'm just maintaining a well-oiled machine, so to speak. Excuse me. So when the opportunity at Stellar arrived, I felt like that was a place where I could reshape and build and own the entire digital stack. It's a much smaller team, and it has the stack that I'm comfortable with, and so it's really good to be touching all parts of the digital journey, basically.
AI loves outdoor gear, right?
Yeah.
A lot of specs.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of data.
A lot of material.
Yeah. Tech specs are
good for you.
Exactly.
Correct, yes. We'll get onto that in a little bit more detail. So we're going to start the first section, external AI. So as I mentioned, discovery and conversion. I want to begin with some stats. So I'm sure you've all heard of ChatGPT, but it has more than 1 billion users. Equally, Salesforce has found that 53% of consumers are now open to letting an AI agent buy on their behalf. I think what's most interesting is 2.5 years ago, none of those stats existed. So we're moving at pace. We think about the external AI across 3 surface layers when we're doing our consulting at Roy. So on-site AI personalization, AI search, and then fully outsourced agentic shopping. Not a perfect model, but I think a good one to start this conversation. And I think, Ola, this is going to be a little bit more your world, and Erik, we're going to bring you in as much as we can. But to start off, Ola, my sense is that a lot of the brands you work with, both previously and now, are kind of built on visual identity and cultural presence. And my sense is at this point in time, AI search doesn't index that. It indexes structured data. So I'm curious, in terms of your experience, is that a problem for brands that you kind of work with who are indexing on cultural relevance?
Can't index vibes, right?
No. Tell me more about it.
You can vibe code vibes, all right? No, but of course, like you're saying, obviously, bringing back some stats. Obviously, I had to read up a little bit before.
You did some prep.
I did quite some prep. Read up on AI just a week ahead. No, but obviously, obviously, I mean, it's fun. Obviously, I mean, last year even like AI referral traffic is up 390% in the US, and it converts like 20 times better than organic traffic. And organic traffic is down in the US during those like heavy shopping months, is down like some 24%. So obviously, this is something that you need to sort of look at, and something that is being, we talk about it in mid-sized, smaller brands, but to be honest, what I'm seeing as you're not doing the actual kind of like work of structuring data, tagging products for this sort of new search behavior that is the new sort of future.
And how seriously do you think brands are taking AI discovery? I mean, you can hark back to your...
yeah.
Oh, we've got some audio advice.
No.
Closer to the mics. Yeah, tell us more about the AI discovery.
Yeah, discovery, I feel like, I mean, that the bigger brands, the bigger luxury fashion brands, they're probably not talking about it that much, the ones that's actually doing it right. I'm sure they're sitting in the background doing the operational, boring stuff that one needs to do in order to sort of become visible with the LLMs or whatnot. Doing a little bit of testing, I think it's interesting. Everyone can just pull out their phone and use whatever kind of like LLM you're working with, and punch in something like I'm looking for, then type in your best-selling category or product for this type of event, and see what you get back. I did that for Acne some months ago, just saying like, hey, I need a bandana or a scarf, fashionable bandana or a scarf for a concert in Stockholm this summer, and obviously look at what you get back there. And if you're not there, obviously you're not doing your job. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, the results I got back was an Acne bandana, our imagery, next to Satisfy running bandana, and then some cheap Shine or Sheen or however you say it, kind of like bandana on the product cards on ChatGPT. So obviously, and fun fact also, like pressing the product card for the Acne one, it led me to a wholesale retailer that they're probably not that proud of to begin with. So not even there. So it's super interesting. I feel like, moving forward, how brands are gonna work with how you've been merchandised on sort of platforms where you have no control. So I mean, hence the importance of actually like doing that type of work and keeping track of how you are being positioned on these platforms. I have a feeling that most brands are still just arguing commerce versus marketing, which hero slot should go where, and how the featured PLP is supposed to look like, or the newsletter, instead of working with these like boring sort of mundane tasks that one need to do. Now I think the next 18 months is probably going to show who's done their like work and who hasn't.
Yeah, I think you touched on a number of different points there, one of which is the kind of brand experience and the relinquishing of that control into an LLM interface. But Erik, maybe we can bring you in from your perspective, CTO. I hate to say it's the boring stuff, but maybe we would categorize it as that. How do you think about AI visibility from a structure, data, and kind of like following on from what Ola said there?
No, I agree totally with what he's saying. I mean, it's a lot of unglamorous stuff, right? Getting the structured data correct. It's basically it's nothing new, really. It's the stuff you should be doing anyway for SEO, but making it machine readable. Making the AI aware of what you're actually presenting on the product page. You mentioned tech details, stuff like that, to organize schemas on the site or the page that actually matches what's on the page. So I think that's super important as well.
Talk us through that in a little bit more detail, what you're doing at Stella. Is this like a weekly thing? Is it something that you set up, once a quarter and say, okay, product data is structured to the best of our abilities, we kind of like let it run and we monitor it? How do you think about it?
I mean, it's the thing is, it's as I mentioned, it's super boring. Of course, doing all that. I mean,
can't you have an AI do it for you?
Yeah, for sure. No, but I think that's like an habitual change you need to do to actually start caring about the data structure, treating it with the same respect as you would treat a promotional campaign or something like that. At Stellar, the good thing for us is that we don't have a lot of products coming in on a weekly. So we actually have the time to be really thorough with product data, involving the marketing for product copy, making sure everything is on point from the ERP to the consumer facing as well. So yeah, a lot of structure and like really careful about we making sure that we have everything in place, so to speak. Yeah.
Nice. Ola, we'll bring you back in. You mentioned something, or Erik mentioned something interesting there, where like a lot of kind of like AI search is ultimately kind of basic SEO, which I agree with. Let's assume you're working with a lean team and they don't have like a big SEO function or resources. How should they be thinking about this? Is it the time that they should get external advisors in, or should they just be figuring out themselves and trying and experimenting?
Oh, well, it depends on what kind of team you have, right? I mean, with the guys I'm working with, we definitely need to bring in external advice and help us do that kind of like mundane, or I wouldn't say that it's like boring task, but no, you definitely need the experts there. If you're like a mid-sized brand and you're in the hands of all these agencies, you definitely need to sort of make sure these agencies, like the one you work for yourself, that really delivers on that, and just don't like sort of leave you by yourself. So no, I think you definitely need to take some external help if you don't have the team there, or the luxury to have that team there.
Let's talk about the on-site personalization conversation. So we recently did a podcast series with Swap, and they've got this new agentic storefront. And I think that and Bruno Cinelli are examples of where the kind of ChatGPT experience is now folding into the .com, and kind of like, what does a .com look like? What's your kind of like take on it? What are you hearing inside consumer brands? Is the .com disappearing? Is it changing? Sort of, is it evolving? How does that look and feel? Or is that something that people are not thinking about?
Well, first of all, like the online personalization part, I feel like something we've talked about since 2012 or something. I guess it sort of depends what you mean by it's just like machine learning, like product recs, or like segmented kind of personalization. I guess that's the one that's fashion brands or commerce brands are working with, like one-to-one personalized sites. I don't know if there's anyone that's really doing that, except if you're like Shopify, where you can actually have the user coming back and forth so often. But I feel like for these with Acne, obviously there's Bloomreach and whatnot that I know that they're probably. Acne, they're probably still working with getting like a proper personalization, or as good as a personalization experience you can have up. And with a lot of smaller, mid-sized brand, I feel like they have bought a lot of AI licenses, and they have the like sort of machine learning product recs up and running, but no one's really looking after them, tweaking them, making sure that keeping track of what they're actually delivering. So, yeah, long answer there. I feel like it's definitely talked about, but I feel like it's like a never-ending sales pitch of the personalization part that never really gets anywhere. It's always in my kind of like decks for the board what we need to do. The 3 parallel tracks, personalization.
Nice. Yeah. We'll do that next quarter.
It's a lot of BS. But
it's an interesting point. I feel like personalization has been this near-term thing. Maybe like self-driving cars. That feels like that was been promised for years.
Obviously will be sort of the AI agents or the LLMs that kind of knows you, that can personalize your shopping behavior on them. And then again, like AI shopping bots, so to speak. I don't know if is there any of those that has been successful?
There was a story when the Clawbot phenomenon happened that someone went to order 2 T-shirts and got 25,000 of them, I believe. So there's an example of it maybe not working
Amazon,
so well.
didn't they have to like pull their Rufus or whatever
Something
it's
like
called?
that, yeah.
So it's I feel like there's, if the sort of big ass merchandisers or merchants can't sort of deliver one that's actually functioning, it's going to be tough for sort of even like big sort of brands to deliver that.
My sense is that a lot of the on-site personalization, again, has maybe this future-forward concept that's just continuing to get pushed. Yeah. But a lot of it, I would argue, and there are examples, is probably just more of a conversational type experience happening on the .com. So mimicking what you see in an LLM interface closer to where the consumer is doing the kind of like transaction. Erik, we want to bring you back in. I want to talk more about that kind of final layer that we frame it when we're doing the consulting and the kind of like fully outsourced agentic shopping. So most brands, I would argue, rightly so, are optimizing for human behavior. How is it different optimizing for an agent?
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, it's similar in many ways. I mean, an AI basically want the same thing as a human buyer wants, right? You want the attributes of the product. You want the product description to actually be about that very 3-layer shell jacket you're selling. So a lot of things like overlap on those things, but the differentiator might be that it's the AI needs it to be not only machine readable and present, but also useful, right? So it needs to be there, and it needs to make sense of what you're actually promoting to be even recommended by the AI. I think also, and I don't think that's talked about quite enough, is like the third-party signals might be pretty relevant as well, like reviews, like the community side of things, the mentions across the site, or not site, but the internet as a whole. I think that's super valuable to like, for the AI will cross-reference whatever you say with whatever else it can find online. So keeping that on
nasty forums on Reddit or
for sure. No, but that's actually a good point.
You keep track of that.
You should actually be out there and actually be in the discussion instead of like be talked about.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. We were in an AI visibility conversation with a potential client recently, and we were talking about the kind of like external data factors for AI search. And I think for a brand, it's a little bit challenging because you've got these external groups like Reddit groups, and you don't want to necessarily get in there and control them. But that information is being really, it's really important for that visibility. I think the other thing, just before we move on to the internal, the boring bit, I think the bit that's missing from the outsourced agentic commerce conversation is security and the agents being able to actually transact. And I think part of that is that the internet was built to stop bots. So we're having to sort of reconstruct how the internet works. I think there's a lot of people obviously highly incentivized to do it. I know Stripe has like released a new kind of like agentic feature which enables, you know, kind of like bots to be able to check out. But that's probably a conversation for another day.
Another year maybe.
Another year, yeah.
But didn't they like pull their there was a lot of talk like 6 months ago on the ChatGPT or OpenAI's sort of checkout. That no one's talking about that anymore. I guess they pulled that one, right?
Yeah, so I think that was an interesting point, and we'll get to it in the kind of internal discussion. But yeah, OpenAI went very hard on their commerce kind of like developments. And I think, interestingly, and we read about it in our Substack, it went out today actually, based on the Google I.O. announcements last week, I actually think if you can have a renaissance in like 6 months, we're going to see a renaissance of the kind of external AI. OpenAI pulled back. I think other people have kind of like filled that gap, but Google are clearly making it that they are the number one consumer AI company in the world. And I think that we will see a bit of a renaissance of AI visibility and AI search and agentic shopping. It fell back for a few months, but this stuff is moving so quickly. Right, we're going to talk for the next 17 and a half minutes about internal AI, which is ultimately efficiency. And I'm going to start with some stats. So whenever we do any of these consulting projects, we start with this big one from Goldman Sachs. The validity of it, I am not sure, but it's a good number. So 76% of businesses are using AI, and only 14% say that it's actually working. When we think about the internal AI discussion, just to frame it, we think about it across three kind of surface layers. So general purpose tooling, I'm sure everyone's got probably now got more Claude subscriptions than they had 6 months ago. Maybe using ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever bigger technology, Google, Gemini that you've bought into. Then the embedded AI conversation. So all the technology that you've already bought, they're all got AI features trying to sell them to you. How do you make a decision on both? And then the kind of holy grail of internal AI efficiency, automation, building agents, so you can ultimately grow your top line and keep your headcount the same. That's the same sort of goal I keep hearing. I think there's some fallacies in that, and we'll get into it in a second. But Erik, maybe we'll start with you. I'm very interested to learn what actual internal AI initiatives are you doing? What is working? Are you going to be part of that 14% who say they aren't seeing any gains, or are you going to be the outlier?
Yeah, we're doing quite a lot actually, or I am doing quite a lot. We're a small team, of course. So AI has had a tremendous help for me personally. But name a few examples. I've integrated basically our whole digital stack. I can speak to it through Claude in a natural language. I can, instead of writing SQL queries, so now I can just ask, why was the return rate in Norway spiking last week, for example? And the AI, Claude in this case, can find it through different sources and cross-reference them and bring an answer in 20 minutes that would take like a day's work previously. So that's a big one. Content-wise, we're still experimenting a bit. We're doing like basic stuff. But it's like generating SEO metadata. That's been tremendously helpful, getting that stuff everywhere. What else are we doing? We've trained a ChatGPT agent with our like internal lingo or tone of voice, tonality, and like use it to sense check like ad hooks, product copy. Previously, that was all going through the copywriter/CEO, so that was a kind of narrow path to take, and it took quite a while to get stuff out. Now our marketing team can like sense check it against a trained agent. So that's really good on the content side, but what's changed my work the most is probably the development side, like internal tools. I can like build something pretty quick on a Friday afternoon that would previously have been a scope for a vendor project to actually ship. So that we can do quickly, and you have to be careful about that also, right? Because you can't just vibe code everything and just cut all your vendors. But small things like, would that be me and Adam here had a discussion like a couple of weeks ago about merchandising on the site, and I quickly after that call mocked up agentic or an automated merchandising tool that takes a lot of aspects into consideration just to get a recommended merchandising or a sorting order basically on a PLP back to Centra in this case. We haven't put it in production, but it's like just mocking that up and drafting it and see how it could perform. That's been super inspiring, and I think that's going to be a lot of focus for us, at least in the coming months and years.
Very cool. There's a lot to unpack there, and I'm going to bring Ola in a second. But just quickly, what's your favorite kind of coding tool? Codex? Are you now fully bought into Claude? Were you ChatGPT? Now you've moved over. I'm curious how you're thinking about general purpose tooling.
I mean, that changes with every model, basically. I think you go back and forth a lot. I've settled into Claude Code since Opus 4.5. That's when I really saw the shift in that it can actually be pretty powerful for coding. I don't need to code anymore, which I'm super glad about, because I don't really like that. So Claude now do the heavy lifting, and I like guardrail it and guide it to my vision, basically. So I tried Codex as well. It's catching up, but Claude Code is still my pick.
Who here is using Claude? Quite a large percentage. I was chatting, we're a partner with Claude, and I was chatting with the head of their enterprise sales yesterday, and this is a total side step, but they don't get out of bed for 100 million. So you can see why they're so valuable, and nearly $1 trillion in valuation. I want to bring you in. So from your perspective, I'm curious, when a team doesn't have somebody like Erik, or they don't have the infrastructure to sort of do these sorts of things, what are you seeing them do? Are they still experimenting? How are they thinking about like deploying it inside? Is there a lot of innovation? Is there a lot of trial projects, proofs of concepts?
There's a lot of trials for me and for people I'm working with. Obviously, I mean, I actually had 2 months off when I quit Acne, so I was trying to get like more operational into kind of the stuff that Erik's working with, that I used to be sort of dabbling with before. So it's interesting now that you're almost a coder and a CFO. I even had OpenClaw installed on my computer, thinking I could do 3 jobs at the same time. My future is just going to be like saying yes or no. OpenClaw is going to solve everything. Actually, it took me like about a week. I thought it'd be like looking at these YouTube videos. It'll take me like half a day to set up OpenClaw, and I'm going to run the e-com universe, telling it you're an e-commerce god. Yeah. Turns out it's not that easy, obviously. And OpenClaw is a little bitch, telling me off and whatnot. So a little bit sidetracked there. To be honest, I mean, I think if you don't have that kind of setup, obviously for mid-sized, smaller brands, it's very tough when you're just using Claude or any kind of LM as like a tool of doing things faster and sort of analyze. If you have the sales data and you pull it into Claude and make a nice sort of report, where I think a lot of times faulty errors or like stuff gets thrown in there, and Claude's kind of like makes a semi-good looking presentation, which also makes you save a lot of time. But there's also a lot of non-truths in that kind of data. So, I mean, mid-sized, smaller brands, they work with it to make their jobs faster. But I feel like a lot of times it's like faster and sloppier.
Erik said something really interesting, and when we think about the internal AI discussion, there's like internal AI that is customer facing. So they will be doing things to make yourself more efficient. You'll be pushing some of that information out to the world. So customer service is a great example, ad creative, etc. From your perspective, Ola, is that where a lot of brands are investing their kind of internal AI capacity, is to sort of scale up customer facing internal initiatives?
Okay, can you repeat that again? So I'm thinking about something else.
Let's take a good example. I think one of the good use cases for internal AI to make yourself more efficient is having one photo shoot a year and being able to scale that.
Okay, sorry. Now I know what you're talking about. Sorry. No, but back again to what your stats. Obviously, like why 76% are like using it. Those are the kind of cases that I'm talking about. Everything's they're using AI because they have it sort of they have an LLM or something, but they're actually not working with have it embedded in their processes. So that's why it's not being like, they're not seeing a profit on it, or they're not seeing a top line growth because of it. So obviously having AI embedded in your sort of processes, that's always where the key is at. And then again, on to your other question on like internal, content creations and stuff. Of course, that's something that's been talked about all over the place, and I don't think any sort of mid-sized Swedish band are not working with something like Geody or whatnot. And I mean, I've been talking to those kind of services as well, and I'm sure that that's kind of like where we're heading. But then again, of course, you need an art director, you need to do your pre-production, you need to set sort of a tone of voice for your brand, have that brand book, and do that type of work. And then you obviously need an art director to sort of make sure everything that you're producing through these type of AI platform actually looks on brand and such. And I'm sure, I mean, there'll probably be less people working with post-production, so you probably will end up saving some time for that, I'm afraid, for all the retouchers. But I guess that is the new reality. But then again, I still think that you need to do proper shoots and stuff, but I think with AI you can build on those type of campaigns to make, get a bigger creative output. But again, you have to do sort of your prep on it.
Speaking of prep, we're going to start the round out now. But Erik, I'm curious. Like, there's this sort of common concept where, like, crap in, crap out in terms of data is a thing. Is that true when you're talking about some of the internal initiatives that you've been running?
Yeah, sure. And I get back to that. I mentioned previously, and we talked about on the external facing. I mean, the internal, the data structure is important, of course. The thing that AI does really well is helping, like, identify inconsistencies in the data you have. So getting help from AI to actually see what's shit and what's good and where you need to focus your work is helpful. I think that's the short answer. But I think it can get started, right? You don't need to be like fully, have everything lined out for you. But you can start. We can. Yeah. I lost the thread there.
That's all right. I think we got the. Just start with good data. I think that's it. Right.
I think so.
Start small.
Yeah. Start small and then move on.
Clean
Ola,
data.
Before we get some grab some questions from the audience, I'm curious from your perspective, Ola, who's owning AI in the companies that you see? Like, is there an AI czar?
No one.
Guru? Nobody. Okay.
No one, and I think that's probably the right answer for now. I think whoever owns the problem owns that type of AI. So if it's returns, AI returns, that's ops. If it's search, AI search, e-com, brand, marketing, or whomever in your, they sort of own that. And then I would assume for a smaller brand, you maybe have the COO or CEO sort of coordinating, making sort of decisions, and a larger brand, probably the CTO and or the CTO and the CMO, maybe depending on what you're doing, should sit there and coordinate with whatever kind of like decisions you're doing. But I don't think you should, have one person who's just the head of AI. That's just going to be someone who's safeguarding, sitting on this massive amount of money, and almost be like an internal vendor almost. So I think for now, ideally a CTO would own it. But I think no one for now.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. For me, it's easy because I'm also interested in it. So I I took ownership of it, and it naturally falls within my role. And we're a small enough team that I can kind of like own it internally. It's not very scalable if we were like 500 people, of course. But as Ola mentioned, like each kind of function needs their own like owner, if you will. But if you're not doing anything, I would like see who's interested in AI, who uses it personally, and like step out of their way and give them the tools and the space to really work on it. And start small. Find a boring, again, a repetitive task, automate it, move on to the next,
Exactly.
and work like that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that in some of the projects that we do, sort of like reimagining how AI can fit into your organizational design. And I think the irony that I'm seeing across a lot of the projects that we do is that you need more time to focus on this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to make you more efficient, but you need to put in the groundwork in order to kind of like enact that. Right. Any questions from the audience for our fantastic panel here?
One more of an observation, but like, I mean, for the past couple of 100 years, we've been standardizing retail to the point where we have like, neck tags with the global pricing on the neck tag, basically in an H&M store, etc. And like standardization was built for scale, so we set up systems that are sort of make us able to scale a lot. And now with agentic, like both from a consumer perspective, consumers have sort of the cognitive capability to like only think about price or maybe product name, like that's it. Like you can't really see more than that. So with agentic coming in, will consumers see more things about product, more than price? And are we going away from standardization globally as sort of like the means for scaling?
Interesting. I think standardization is probably more relevant than ever, actually, and making sure that you have schemas, you have everything tagged out, you have and as I said before, useful data, and whether customers will see more or less. I mean,
Let's see. Right?
yeah. I mean, we don't really know. Today, we as a brand, we feel that we can't really convey our whole vision of the product and how we want it to be perceived in agentic shopping compared to how we present it on the PDP. And I guess for Ola as well, working with fashion brands and many like vibey, cool brands.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same, right? You rely heavily on imagery, and yeah.
I think like some of the stuff that we've been worrying about throughout all this year, like brand protection and those type of things. Of course, it was always been tough to protecting brand, but just kind of have to sort of let go and focus on the things that you can do now. It's obviously like what you're talking about, tagging up your products and your feed, so that is across the board looking good. But then also when you do tag and write your copy, make sure also that it is still on brand, so whomever sort of sums it up later, they will we're going to have to leave that to them, but hopefully it'll come back as close to brand as possible, right?
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I think two questions. First, one relating to the brand part and kind of how trust or external sources are becoming more relevant than fucking ever, because an LLM weighs that way higher than what you're saying yourself. So external sources are interesting. So I think that's important to put into context there. But another part that I feel like we didn't touch today is we spoke about numbers and adoption and revenue increase and top line, yada yada. Attribution is getting really fucking tricky as well with how traffic flows are now.
We have some consensus here on that question. This is fantastic.
Because obviously, I'd argue that pretty much every digital purchase made today is to some extent influenced by AI, be it through an LLM mentioning a brand or like content produced or influenced, metadata, whatnot, by AI. Attribution is really, really hard. I mean, like actual direct traffic generated or sales generated by an LLM.
Yeah, direct's down 40% of the year, organic's down.
What's your reason?
I mean, I'm not a paid performance expert, although I feel like I should be one because I've been working with a lot of that past couple of months trying to find good vendors or agencies. But I think there again, you're just going to have to sit back and kind of like decide on one type of metric. It's obviously super hard to give a straight up answer because there I'm having a really hard time as well working with that now. So I don't really have a really good answer to that. I'm afraid you have a better answer.
No, I don't. Sorry. Maybe you have one. No, but speaking from our brand, we've been heavily invested in paid as our main attribution for like 80% of the revenue, and we've strategically like lowered our what do you say, reliance on that attribution model to like grow, or not organically, but in a more sustainable way. But I've always found it hard with attribution, and I mean, this is just another thing that, okay, it might influence. It can be organic search, it can be direct traffic. You don't really know, right? It's hard, but DEMA is in the room, so maybe they have all the answers.
I guess we're just gonna have to look at what it looks like after the GM3 is GP3 is taken into consideration.
You've DEMA, and then the man in front of you is the head of performance marketing at Roy. So I think between the two of them, you can corner them. Any final questions for the panel? Yes.
I just have one. You didn't touch on the compliance and sort of like regulation perspective. How do you see that using AI?
What kind of compliance or anything?
Yeah. So that's an interesting one.
Take that one later.
That's a whole topic of conversation. But my sense is it depends on where one's operating. I think it's safe to say that the US have got very little guardrails and will probably continue to do so. I would say China the same. I think what is happening in Europe, which is really interesting with Mistral, and they're sort of starting to become the model that is the sort of European GDPR compliant, etc. But yeah, I don't know what you guys are you thinking about compliance as it relates to AI, and maybe some around the ethics around it and stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal side, I do, but now I'm not speaking from. Yeah, maybe. But
you say yes.
I agree. No,
this is being recorded.
I was gonna say no. The thing is, like, I think it's important to give your team or the people within the organization access to the AI tools that they use anyway, and umbrella it under like a team account or whatever. And in that sense, like, they don't go rogue with company data in their own like personal chat GPT and then upload all the customers in whatever agent, right? So I think that's one thing that you can do to be like a bit cautious of what data you feed the agents with.
We've found one of our clients in the UK have just bought back their shares from a more standard PE firm and have gone with a fund that is very invested in sustainable brands, and they're having a really hard time with that question, right? Because their whole brand is built on sustainability. And so how do you think about that in an AI world? Henrik?
A question. I don't know how it is when you have just Claude, but what we can do in DEMA, what we do for a lot of our customers that are GDPR very like afraid, so to speak, is to just put everything, like whatever LLM you use within DEMA, you put everything on EU servers. Mm-hmm. Can't you do that also with your like company team account in, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude, or
Yeah, you could use a router of some description, and you could make calls on what you use and when.
It's a 10x cost.
okay,
Don't do that.
it doesn't matter in demo.
Okay.
Same cost.
Yeah.
10x.
Yeah. Enterprise account on Claude, which allows you to direct it to a European server, is like 10x from the regular.
There you go. It's a big cost consideration. We're going to round out now. One thing that we didn't talk about was AI budgeting, which I think is a really hot topic. But I tell you what, that's a great leadway into our next podcast, which we're going to be back here in a month doing. Before we go, just some shout outs. So a huge shout out to Lizzie, who ultimately spearheaded this entire event from the Royro team, our partners DEMA and Centra on this. For you guys, for being here is fantastic. And then finally, a big round of applause for our panel. We'll see you next time. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Well done.